I'm Jason Draco with Prince Draco Productions. I'm here with voice actor Crispin Freeman. How are you doing today?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. And one of the coolest things he does for his community is he actually teaches voice acting.
I do. It's true.
And it's voice acting mastery. Would you like to touch a little bit on it, on
Sure.
what you do?
The most common question that I tend to get at conventions is, how do I become a voice actor? And while that's a very simple question to ask, it's a very complicated question to answer. And I don't like to give just sort of little trite answers like know thyself or get in touch with your feelings, because that's not terribly useful. You can't really take that home and do anything with it. So I realized that in order to answer that question properly, I needed a little more time, and I needed to be able to interact with people in a little more detail. And so I thought that the best way to do that would be through a podcast. So let's see here, in the summer of 2011, basically, I started a blog and podcast at voiceactingmastery.com. I wanted to talk about what it took to become a voice actor. So I'm up to episode 43 right now, I think, of the podcast. I give advice about voice acting, different techniques. I interview different people in the voice acting world. And it's all to try to help people understand what it takes to work as a professional voice actor. And again, you can find that at voiceactingmastery.com. There's also a link from my personal website, crispinfreeman.com, to the website. And you can search for me in the iTunes Music Store under podcasts. You put in my name, Crispin Freeman, or Voice Acting Mastery, and it pops up immediately.
I actually forgot to give you something because I remember it was your birthday recently. So I got you a birthday present.
Oh, well, thank you. There's Zelgadis from the Slayers being all cool.
That's the first time I ever heard you, so.
Nice. Rezo's the real enemy. Yes, he is. Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Still have the VHS tapes in the garage somewhere.
Wow. That's hardcore.
That brings me up to the next question now. You had to come back and revoice him later for Revolution and Evolution R that came out. How was it coming back and doing the same character again after so many years? What was your thought process going in?
Well, yeah, it's sort of amazing. We did the first 3 seasons of Slayers. I started playing Zelgadis halfway through the first season, and from that point on, I was the voice of Zelgadis. And we finished up Slayers Try, which was the 3rd season, and then 10 years later, they decide that they want to reboot the franchise, and they want to bring Slayers back. And initially, I sort of freaked out a little bit, because it's important to me to make sure that that Zelgadis sounds consistent. If someone starts with the first 3 seasons and then goes into Revolution and Evolution R, I want Zelgadis to sound the same. But 10 years had passed. I've developed as an actor, my voice has changed slightly, and I didn't know, could I get not only my voice back to where it was to play Zelgadis, but could I think like I did back then when I was playing Zelgadis? Luckily, in all that time, I've not damaged my voice. I have good vocal technique, and while I had expanded the range of my voice, I hadn't actually done any physical damage to it. So I was able to go back to the same place Zelgadis was when I was younger. And most of it was getting back in the mindset to make sure I was thinking like Zelgadis thought. Thinking the way Zelgadis thought back in the day. And it didn't take very long, and I was right back in the groove, and it felt very comfortable.
So your preparation is pretty much just remembering what you used to do and bringing it back to now?
Yeah, I wanted to go back and listen to a little bit of what I did back then to get a sense of where my vocal placement was. Your voice can sound very different day to day on the microphone. So whenever I'm doing a character, they always play me a little bit of a vocal reference before we start doing the character again to make sure that I'm in exactly the same place in my voice so it sounds consistent. Because in the morning your voice can be sort of a little more tired and deep sounding, and in the middle of the day it can get a little higher. I mean, your voice is very sensitive to the amount of sleep you have, rest, humidity, how hydrated you are. You know, all this can really have an effect on your voice and make you sound different. And so I wanted to make sure he sounded as consistent as possible. So I went back and I listened to it, and I tried to get in the mindset of what I was like back then. And then when it was time to get back in the booth and do it, it was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember all this. It was sort of like getting back on a bike. So.
And speaking of like how your voice can change from day to day, I remember a story you were telling about Keone from the Suzumiya movie, talking about how your voice, you had to take breaks and stuff like that. Can you explain a little bit how that went for you?
Sure. When we were doing The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, where I'm playing Keone, when we were working on the movie The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, The movie itself is over 2 hours long, and most of it is Kyon talking to himself. I like to call the movie Kyon's Hamlet. Like, it's just endless. The challenge with playing Kyon is that he's a little higher in my range. And as I use my voice, if my voice starts to get tired, my voice starts to sort of drop in pitch a little bit. It happens with most voice actors. As they get tired, sometimes their voice will start to drop in pitch. Well, I can't do that as Kyon. I have to keep my voice in that slightly higher register. And also, whenever I'm doing his internal voice, Kyon's internal voice, I have to be right next to the mic. Well, that means that I have to stay very focused in what I'm doing so I don't get any weird noises in my mouth when I'm speaking that close to the microphone. And we found that I could only play Kyon for about 4 hours. Which is your standard session. They usually don't book you for more than 4 hours anyway. So I would record 4 hours. But we had 2 hours of movie, which took 45 hours in the booth to record those 2 hours of that movie, spaced over the course of a month. And so the studio wanted to move a little faster. And so they said, could we do 6 hours? And I said, I don't know, we could try. And so we did 4 hours. One day we tried 4 hours in the morning. We took a break for lunch. And we came back for another 2 hours in the afternoon. And about halfway through the 5th hour, I couldn't do it. The voice was starting to get tired. And I started to sound deeper and deeper and deeper. And it just wasn't working for Kyon. And I was like, guys, I'm sorry. My voice just can't hold up. There are other voice actors who have that same problem dealing with creature voices. I know Fred Tatasciore, who plays the Incredible Hulk a lot. He can play the Hulk for about 2 hours, and then he's got to rest. Like, his voice just can't handle it. There are certain physical limitations we have to deal with as voice actors. And for me, one of them is I can't play Kyon for more than 4 hours. Then you've got to let me go home, get some rest, and then I can come back and do them again in the morning. But that's about all I can do.
So Hellsing, Alucard, that seems to be, I guess, maybe one of your biggest followings of fans. How do you like that? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I do enjoy playing Alucard, but he is one of the most taxing characters I have to play. I think a lot of people think, oh, it must be just so much fun to play Alucard. I'm sweating bullets every time I go in to play Alucard. It's a lot of work because there's a lot of pressure riding on me to play Alucard well. I put a lot of pressure on myself to play Alucard well. It's very important that I play Alucard well. And Alucard lives in sort of the deepest, lowest registers of my voice. The only way for me to get down into those deep registers is for me to be incredibly relaxed. If I'm tense at all, if I'm cold, my vocal cords will start to tense up, and I can't get to those low notes anymore. So I have to be in a very relaxed state. And then I have to rip somebody's head off as Alucard and scream and do all this crazy stuff, which isn't terribly relaxing. You know, it doesn't make the voice relax. So I'm constantly fighting this battle because I want him to sound as vicious as he needs to be when he gets vicious, which requires me to scream and yell and snarl. But then I have to relax again to make sure he's in that deep, rumbly place that we like Alucard to live. This is stressful. This is not easy. So Alucard is probably the most physically demanding character that I have to play. And usually after every take, I'm looking at the director going, is that good? Did we get it? Did we get it? Okay, oh, God, thank God. Okay, let's go to the next one. So, you know, fun, I guess, but I mean, I'm satisfied with the final product. When it comes out well, I look at it and I go, okay, that's good enough. Good. All right, let's go with that. But it's not like, you know, sitting at home playing video games. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort and craft on my part to get it just so.
The big thing I like to do, I like to promote the industry, like the newest stuff coming out, and you know, a trailer just hit. You're in Fate Stay Zero.
Yes.
How are you feeling about that?
I am in Fate Zero, which is very cool. I'm very excited about that. And I was very curious to see where they would cast me in the show, because when I went to audition, I auditioned for a number of different characters, as we all do as actors. We all go in and we all audition for a number of different characters. And it's up to the directors and the producers to take all the actors they have and sort of find the best parts for them. And so when they told me that I was cast as Kirei, I was like, oh yeah, that really probably is the best part for me, isn't it? So I was very excited to play Kirei, and I was even more excited to hear who they cast as the other characters. When I found out all the other voice actors in the show, I was like, oh, you mean Matthew's playing that character, and Liam's playing that character, and Jameson's playing that character? You know, like, when I found out sort of where everybody was in the show, it got me even more excited, because I love it when I love to make the show good. And it's really wonderful when I hear people in characters and I say, oh, that's perfect. That they're going to really knock it out of the park playing that character. That character really suits that actor. And so when I heard about the entire cast, I got even more excited because I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
Thank you very much for your time.
You bet.
And I hope you have a good rest of the convention.
Thanks. You too.